Even though the smile of Violet Evergarden a couple episodes back was truly saddening, because this girl that has never really known what emotions really are, what it feels to smile, be happy, in love, when we saw her smile a couple episodes ago, it brought a lot of emotions to me. However, when I saw this scene, this truly just hit me like a truck. Violet has to come face to face with the loss of the one she loves. And the sad thing about all of this is that the main objective of Violet Evergarden, the story-wise, is for Violet to figure out what I love you really means from the May-jor. And she wants to know those words. That's the whole reason what drove her this far to begin with in the series. And when she has to confront the fact that someone that said these words and kind of opened up a new path for her is potentially gone, it just hits you and you're like, that's tragic, because you realize that Violet now is starting to realize what she had, and now it's gone. And it's kind of like how real life works. You never really know what you have until you lose it, and that's what Violet is having to learn the hard way right now. She has lost someone that she cared deeply for. She just didn't realize it. And it's not her fault, honestly. It's just she didn't realize it until, now he is gone. So, to get right into it, this episode is straight up flashback. Like, it is letting us know more about Violet's past, letting us know what she was like and why people call her a killing machine, a monster, a war machine, a tool. We get to see why these names and titles have been attached to her since the very beginning of Violet Evergarden. And I already had my, thoughts on most likely what happened. We knew she was good at killing and being a soldier. However, seeing it firsthand with the flashback in this episode, it just shows what other soldiers would feel, how they would feel out on the battlefield about her. Someone that looks that young, is that young, and can just, lead the charge in a very, big moment of the battle. It's scary. I mean, let's talk about the one scene to where, our character's the May-jor. He's traveling through the jungle and all that, and they're about to sneak up and attack, this soldier. All of a sudden, Violet pops out of nowhere, and she takes the man down. She actually initiates the attack and leads the charge and just cuts people down like it's nothing. It lets you know that this young girl, this is all she knows. That's the only thing she really knew how to do, and she's just this savage. And so everybody looking at her like a machine, like a tool of the May-jor's, it makes perfect sense because of what she did, what she demonstrated in those moments when she was just taking people down like it was nothing. And you can see from her facial expression, it didn't even look like it bothered her. She didn't have anger, she didn't have sadness, she didn't have happiness, she had no emotions on her face. She just looked like a robot while just slowly cutting people down, blowing people up and all that. It was scary to see, and it really just shows why people were just so weary of Violet because of her actions. Now, let's back up a bit, and let's talk about the first time the May-jor really ever encountered Violet. So, we get to see Violet acting very feral. She acted like a very feral human being that has not really ever had proper contact with an individual, a human, and the way she acts towards the May-jor, to where she just, backs up, she either bites the maid when the maid is trying to help her out, to just jumping back and, getting in a defensive position away from the May-jor when he's trying to come in and see if she's okay. It lets you know that Violet has never properly had a family. She has never had a true upbringing at all. She has been alone most likely her entire life, isolated. And we also get to see the extent of how isolated Violet was and how different and feral she was when we realized that the whole reason why she knew how to really speak and how to read in the first place so well in these episodes of Violet Evergarden is thanks to the May-jor actually going out of his way and teaching her. That is just insane. I mean, Violet has already shown that she's excellent at, writing and, also reading. And in that day and era, from what I could assume at this day and age, being that fluent, with writing and, also reading, it's something that is rare. It wasn't as, like, common as it is today. And to see how Violet learned all of that in a very quick time span, it shows that she is a very intelligent individual. And, I mean, if she was given the proper upbringing since she was very young, most likely she would be one of the top people in the world in terms of just intellect for her to demonstrate what she has done. So, just, like, it puts that in perspective, letting us know that Violet probably doesn't even really know who her parents are. She most likely is a war orphan, and just, she doesn't even know who her parents are. She probably doesn't know anything about them because of the way she reacted towards the May-jor. Now, let's talk about the scene to when she was asking about what she wanted. Like, for instance, the May-jor's like, what do you want, and all of that. He's like, I want you to want something. And she's like, what does people normally want? She asked the question. Well, usually a pretty dress or, you know, some form of accessory. And she's like, okay, I want a pretty dress or accessory. And as we know, Violet doesn't really comprehend that. She only said those words because that's what the May-jor thinks, and so she was just going by what he said. Remember, Violet never went out of her way to do anything unless someone told her to do something, and so it wasn't her own will when she wanted something. Like, for instance, when he's like, you want a dress or accessory, that was never her will when she replied back saying, I just want something like that. However, when she stopped and looked at these, you know, different, you know, gems and stuff, you see this gem that looks very similar to the May-jor's eyes, and it gives us some clarification to what this really means to her. It was the first time that Violet ever wanted something. It was the first time that she ever wanted something from someone else, the first time she was really selfish and wasn't being selfless. And when she got that, the May-jor bought it for her, and he put it on her, and it lets us know the connection between those two individuals, and also letting us know how important that really was to Violet. Now, here's the thing, though. Violet also, in that moment, she realizes that she's starting to feel very weird. She's like, there's a tightness in my chest. That's what she was saying. And that's most likely, from what we can see, she was starting to already gain feelings of love and passion towards the May-jor. She just couldn't comprehend it. And most likely the May-jor, he was obviously aware of how she felt. He just realized that she couldn't comprehend that at all. He was very aware of how she was as a person. And that's what makes the whole scene sad, because most likely it wasn't just the fact of the May-jor falling in love with Violet towards the end when he died. Most likely the reason why he fell in love with her is because at first he probably took pity on her. He watched over her like a child or maybe a younger sister, but then over time he probably learned how much he truly loved her and how much, you know, she also was probably changing him or helping him, and I feel like that's how he fell in love with her. And she fell in love with him, but like we know, unaware. She didn't know at all. So, the final part of the episode, we get to see Violet, you know, fighting with the May-jor once again. It's the final operation, and I'm going to assume this is the operation where, you know, the May-jor's going to die, and Violet's going to lose her arms and stuff. Well, there is an attack. You have it to where they have to reach the capital and all that, and when they get there, they have to initiate the signal, and the May-jor manages to initiate the signal, but as soon as he does, he gets shot. Now, we know for a fact he's not dead by that bullet alone. We know for a fact, because from what we have seen already from brief flashbacks we've gotten. However, this is probably the start of it all. He took a big bullet, like, grazed him near the face and all of that, and Violet right now, she's having to witness someone that she's cared deeply about, someone she has an attachment to, basically ending up in that situation. It does make you wonder what type of reaction she's going to have. I'm going to assume, knowing how Violet is as a person, we might actually get to see her show emotions that are of anger and, like, rage instead of what she normally shows. Because if we look at how she was acting in this episode, she was constantly acting like just a toy or a doll or whatever. She was never acting like, you know, a person. Especially when you're killing someone, you should have some form of emotion, and she didn't even show that. So I feel like in the next episode, when she's defending the May-jor and she loses her arms, I feel like she's probably going to have some emotions on her face while she's trying to protect him, and maybe the May-jor realizes, like, how much, you know, she means to him, and also how much, she loved him as well, and that's probably why he says those things to her, because he realizes it's probably the last time he's going to ever get to see her. So, besides all of that, though, I gotta say that this episode of Violet Evergarden, it was, it's depressing. It's a depressing episode. It's fantastic. It's a depressing episode because, you know, you can't help but feel bad for Violet because she lost someone that was, like, the only shining light in her life, and now the person is gone, and she can never get that back, unless he is alive, which that is possible, because a body wasn't found, but Still, knowing how this series is, knowing how KyoAni is in general and what they like to adapt, I'm going to assume that he's probably dead, and I just can't help but feel bad for her. So that's about it when it comes to this week's episode of Violet Evergarden. How do you feel about this week's episode? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Please be honest in the comments below. And how do you feel about what happened to Violet? How do you feel about what happened to the May-jor? And how do you feel about that cliffhanger we got for this week's episode? I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be healthy. Please stay safe. And if you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And Chibi out.